reason I say do not sell your Bitcoin is because if I look back at my life as an investor, the things that I regret are when I found a really good idea and I underinvested in it. Google was a good idea, Facebook was a good idea, Apple was a good idea, Amazon was a good idea. A digital monopoly that changes the world for 1 billion people is a good idea. And yet, the most common two mistakes after finding a good idea is, first mistake is someone says something, they talk crap about your idea, there's FUD, oh, Australia's gonna tax Google, or somebody's going to Amazon's going to get regulated, or something will happen, and so people panic sell. And so whenever there's anxiety in the market and you panic sell and then you never buy back in, you regret that. And the second thing you always regret is you wish you bought more. And so a lot of people in the world, they're basically being knocked around and traumatized because the media is incentivized to generate a new story every day, and if it bleeds, it leads. And nobody wants to read a story that the risk profile hasn't statistically changed versus last year, and there's no reason to read beyond this sentence. So normally they always write inflammatory, anxiety-inducing stories, and when people read them and they think about it, it gets them on the skin, and they panic and they do something irrational. Bitcoin represents the dominant digital property network of the 21st century. It's a very simple idea. Take the money you want to give to your grandchildren, convert it to Bitcoin, put it in cold storage, and wait. Let the rest of the world do the work, and you'll be the beneficiary of all the intelligent people, no matter where they might be in the world. You'll be the beneficiary of all their work with doing nothing else. There's only one mistake you can make. And the mistake you can make is study the world, get anxiety about something going on somewhere in the world, and sell your Bitcoin. So I think that the common phrase, you do not sell your Bitcoin, is similar to what's written on the back of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is the famous 2 words from Douglas Adams: don't panic. Bitcoin is pristine collateral. It's theoretically the ideal collateral against which to take a loan. And so we felt that by us doing this deal with Silvergate Bank, it would make other banks either jealous or comfortable, and hopefully we'll see an entire Bitcoin banking sector evolve. And we want to support Silvergate Bank, as they move into this space. I think on the flip side, from the point of view of a Bitcoin holder, there's been this meme of, oh, well, I buy some Bitcoin, I wait, and eventually I sell it to buy a Lambo. And I think it's very important for people to know that if you owned a block in Manhattan on Central Park in the year 1900, and if your father, grandfather, grandmother, or great-great-grandmother ever sold that to buy a Lambo, you'd be very angry at them. And if you go back in time and give them advice, you would say, Mom, don't sell the family property, borrow against the family property to buy the Lambo, and then I will inherit the family property, which will be marked up by a factor of 100. And I can also mortgage it or remortgage it to buy my own, electro hover car. I tell people we will be buying Bitcoin at the top forever. I'm not trying to time the market. I don't intend to stop. You could think of MicroStrategy as we're kind of like your non-existent spot ETF.
Yeah.
If there was a spot ETF, you'd be paying 1% fee, and it would be not leveraged. With MicroStrategy, we have a software company that generates cash flow, and so we convert our cash flows into Bitcoin, and so we don't charge you a fee. We give you a yield, and between the cash flows from the software company and just a little bit of leverage that we can take via things like the Silvergate loan, we can give you a spot ETF that generates a 4 or 5% tax-deferred yield. And that's kind of an exciting thing. And when will we stop? Well, why would we ever stop? Well, we'll just keep accreting. it should get exponentially more expensive to buy the Bitcoin, but that's okay. You know, when Bitcoin's 500,000 a coin, someone's going to say, well, why are you buying that? You bought some at 10,000. And the answer is going to be because it's more scarce, desirable property than anything else that I could buy. And when will you sell it? You're not going to sell it until you've got something better to buy, but there isn't anything that I can see in this universe better to buy. So as we generate cash flows, we think that the responsible thing to do for our shareholders is we convert currency, which is devaluing, into an asset which is appreciating. And we don't diversify because we're a public company and we have a strategy in our 10K, and our shareholders know what to expect. They want us to pursue this strategy. They can diversify, right? If you want to be 2% exposed to Bitcoin, you put 2% of your portfolio into MicroStrategy, and the other 98% of your portfolio, you can invest in whatever you want. They don't want the CEO of a publicly traded company to be unpredictable. We've got really good support from the administration. I think the regulators are progressive and very erudite. You know, when Jerome Powell, Janet Yellen, Gary Gensler have been asked about this, they say, look, it's a store of value asset. It's speculative. If people want to speculate, they can. It's not a currency. I think that all the regulatory agencies have some legitimate responsibility to work through. I think here's the big idea, Mackenzie, which is for a year I've been in rooms with trillions and trillions of dollars, you know, and it's like the Ray Dalio comment, the Jamie Dimon comment. It's something like this. It seems engineered perfectly. It's obviously better than gold. It's obviously better than all the other ideas we have. It's too perfect. It's too good to be true. And so I think someone's going to ban it. And that's not uncommon. People with large sums of money that are buying fixed income or buying equity index are like, yeah, it sounds really good on paper, but you know, it must be too good to be true. Nobody's going to let that around. And so how do you answer that criticism when someone says it's too good to be true? And it is too good to be true. It's like perfect money. It's a perfect gold with none of the defects of gold. And it's a big tech monopoly with none of the exposure that Google, Facebook, Apple, and Amazon have because they have people and they do things. And so I wanted something better than a big tech monopoly, and I want something better than gold. And so I have Bitcoin. It's too good to be true. Someone's going to ban it. And the single best way to refute that is say, well, this is what the President of the United States has said. Whereas 40 million Americans want this, I direct you to figure out how to bring it in the public policy framework. It's not going to be banned. If you disagree with the White House, the administration, the Senate, and the Congress, I'm not going to get your order. I get it. You'll be a late adopter. But I really think that we couldn't have had a better development than that executive order. You know, Bitcoin's a paradigm shift, and the thing that causes new paradigms to be embraced is either the old guard dies, generational shift, like the millennials below age 40, they all get it, or the other thing is a war. And when you're forced by a war, and this is a classic example where Russia is forced to reconsider their treasury reserve strategy, and then every other country is invited to consider their treasury reserve strategy. Because the two challenges of a treasury strategy is, will my assets be confiscated or will they be inflated away to be worth nothing? And if you're the Chinese, you have $3 trillion of sovereign debt, and if the dollar is devalued by 20%, then your citizens paid a $600 billion fee to basically support inflation of some other country's currency. And so I think this is just a big catalytic event that invites everybody in the world to ask the question, is there a better way? And I think Bitcoin is the better way. And the result will be hopefully peaceful resolution and efficient settlement for everybody.